Right, folks, we're joined here at the ORSA convention. Another special interview. I've got the Hong Kong legend Derek Currie alongside me. Derek, thank you very much for coming on and having a chat with me.
Pleasure, Derek.
Lots to talk about. It's been great meeting you actually on this trip. Can you just a bit of background about yourself? Of course, Rangers fan growing up. Your brother played for the club, and then you ended up out in Hong Kong. You played football yourself, of course, back home. Then you end up out in Hong Kong. How did all that come about?
Well, to begin with, I think I watched Rangers from about 1954-55, and I was a big fan. But going a bit fast forward, how I came to Hong Kong was I had a year with Motherwell, and I was a part-timer. I was doing an apprenticeship as a compositor 5 years, and I found out that if you're a part-timer, you're not going to make it. You're not fit enough. You've got to be full time. So I finished my apprenticeship, and this guy came over to Hong Kong, Ian Petrie, born in Govan, and he had a team called Hong Kong Rangers, and he had been relegated the year before. So he got some money behind him, and he came over to Scotland to see if he could get 3 players to boost the club for the next season. I should mention that they got relegated, but they had a court case and the league got extended to 14, so they never got relegated.
Yeah.
So anyway, he came over, and it was a trial game at Douglas Park, and it was against a team put together with Doug Bailey, ex-Rangers player, right? And I played in the game. It was a Sunday morning, and he took me off after 10 minutes. Scored a goal with my head. 5'9". I didn't score too many goals, but as it turned out, a lot of my milestones in my career, my first goal with Hong Kong national team was with my head, But anyway, he took me off, and he asked me to wait after the game. He wanted to talk to me. So he said to me, we'd like you to come to Hong Kong. We think you'll be good enough to get in the Hong Kong League 11. And I said, I think my future's, I've just finished my apprenticeship, I think my future's still here. He says, well, if you come to Hong Kong, we think you'll be good enough to play against Pele. I said, what do you mean, Pele? He said, well, Santos are coming in December. You get in the League 11, you'll be playing against Pele. I says, Pele? And this is just after the 1970 World Cup.
Oh, yeah.
For me, the greatest World Cup of all time. I says, Pele? Where do I sign? And that was it.
Rest is history, yeah.
That was just,
Yeah, magnificent. Well, I mean, he was at Santos at the time, wasn't he? So, I mean, it was peak Pele. He wasn't with the Cosmos or anything.
And Claudio Aldo was playing as well.
Yeah, you must have been pinching yourself.
Oh, I was. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I never even thought about anything else. All I was focused was that I'm going to meet Pele in December. I'm going to get a picture with Pele. And as it turned out, I ended up playing against Pele 5 times. Yeah. Once in a winning team, I might add.
Wow. Was he any good?
Oh, he wasn't bad. Yeah. No, and I was fortunate. I went to Hong Kong, as I said, one of the first 3 professional footballers in Asia. And, people said to me, you ever thought about going back at any time? No. I was a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
I was what George Best was to Manchester, I was to Hong Kong. Played against Eusebio, Carlos Alberto, Beckenbauer. So it was just too good a time,
Yeah. Wow. You've been telling me about some of the stories you've been telling me are quite incredible. But I mean, you were out in Hong Kong for so long. You must have loved it out there. You were living the dream out there, were you not?
Oh, absolutely. And you never knew who you were going to meet. You never knew who you were sitting to in Hong Kong. I remember I played a game in I think it was a Wednesday night game in Hong Kong Stadium. Of course, by the time you finished the game, it's about 11 o'clock, and there was a place called the Professional Musicians Union, and I'm sitting there having a beer, and this guy says to me, "Excuse me," he says, "do you know what time the bar closes?" I said, "It's a musicians club." He said, "It's open all night." He said, "Oh, that's great, I can stay here for a while." I said, "Yeah." He said, "What's your name?" I said, "Derek." I said, "What's your name?" He said, "Murray Head." Talking about one night in Bangkok. You never knew who you were going to meet. Yeah. I took Rod Stewart and Ronnie Wood to play football in '74. And the funny thing about it is, I took them to Happy Valley for it. Wanted a kickabout. They were doing a concert there, and Rod Stewart comes out with a Celtic top on, which was given to Jimmy Johnson, and he's wearing blue shorts. And I says, I've never seen a Celtic top with blue shorts, Rod.
And I mean, playing out over there, what was Hong Kong Rangers like in terms of like the fans that were coming to watch you and what have you? There's a famous story as well. You get christened Jesus quite early on as well, didn't you?
Yeah, well, that was I think what the fans liked was that when we came over, we gave 150% effort and we won the fans over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I played a game against Djurgårdens, the Swedish league champions, and we were losing 2-1. And I get the equaliser, and I set up the goal in the last minute. And the next day in the newspaper, the Chinese papers, it said Jesus saves Hong Kong. So that was my name, Yeso.
Wow.
They said Yeso Dagao Hong Kong, which means Jesus saves Hong Kong. So they called me Jesus. And the funny thing about it is, so there I am, I go to Hong Kong, I'm called Jesus, right? I'm playing against Pele, right, in December. And I think we mentioned the Pope came to Hong Kong just after, about a week after the game against Santos. And there was an ad in the newspaper, and it was like, it was a cartoon. There was a Pope there, and it's me behind all these bishops, looking like caricature. And the Pope saying, "What's this about Jesus playing football in Hong Kong?" And then in January, so it's almost 3 months, I'm in Vietnam playing in a tournament for a week, and the war's going on. I mean, you would never go to a war zone, but when you're 21 years of age, you're fearless. Nothing's going to happen to you. Maybe somebody else, but never you. So there am I. Jesus, played against Pele, and I'm in Vietnam.
I was going to ask,
what's going to happen next?
Exactly, but you must have just taken it all in your stride, like you say, fearless, because that's at such a young age, and experiencing all that early on must have been quite mind-blowing for you, but I guess you just revelled in it.
Well, I to be honest with you, the big difference was going to Hong Kong was training full-time. I remember playing a game at Ibrox against Rangers, reserves. And in those days, you used to get about 7,000 in the main stand at Ibrox. I'm playing with Motherwell. And I remember Alec McDonald had the ball. And I went after him and said, I'll catch up with him and get the ball. I couldn't pick him up. And that's when I realised I wasn't fit enough. So once I went to Hong Kong, training 6 days a week and all that, my levels of football, I went from there to there. People say, what sort of player were you? I would say I was a bit like a busted balloon. I was a bit like Jamie Vardy, if you know what I mean. Looking for opportunities and have chances to score goals and that. But that was the difference. You've got to be full time, and that's when I really progressed as a footballer. I remember, and I think it was about 70, maybe 71 or something like that, Graham Souness came to Hong Kong with Middlesbrough. He was only 17 or 18. And we won the Dickens bar in the Excelsior Hotel, and he says to me, I like it over here. You think you can get me fixed up? I says, hey, you're going to go into bigger things, son. Which he did. But obviously, I didn't want any opposition as well.
He was a rare player, wasn't he, Souness? And I mean, you've so many great stories to tell. I mean, you've wrote a book, haven't you? Which I'll just bring up now, folks. It's when Jesus came to Hong Kong, and there's a photo of Derek alongside Pele. Fantastic book. I can't wait to read it, Derek.
It's a lot of good anecdotes and good stories in it.
What gave you the inspiration to write the book then? Was it just that? You so many stories to tell?
It was COVID, you know. I mean, I spent 34 years in Hong Kong. I've been 19 years in Bangkok now. And it was COVID. Sitting at home, can't go out, what to do. And I said, I've got to get something down, document, because it's a bit of history. We were the first official professional footballers in Asia. And I said, I've got to get it down and tell the stories and the people I've met. But it's also a tribute to the many, many people who are dead now, or passed away, who should be remembered. And they're in the book as well. And one of the nice things, I'm very fortunate, is the chap who wrote the foreword was Craig Brown. And it's possibly one of the last things he ever did. What a lovely, lovely man, and I'm indebted to him. And for me, it's great and honoured that he did the foreword. Particularly, he passed away, only a couple of weeks ago. And it's a great story. I brought Craig to Hong Kong a few times, But I used to do a bit of work for ESPN in Singapore, punditry and all that. And I was going back to Glasgow. I think it was September. It was a time when Rangers were playing Barcelona. You remember? Was it 2007?
I think they played them 2007. Yeah.
Was it
2007, 2008. That's the season they went to Manchester. I think so. It was 2007.
Anyway, so I said to ESPN Singapore, I'm going back to Scotland, something I can do with the Champions League, because I was doing punditry work. He said, well, if you're going to Rangers Barcelona, maybe you can get somebody to interview. I says, okay. So I phoned up Craig Brown. I says, Brown, I said, do you fancy a ticket for the Rangers Barcelona game? He said, what's the catch? I says, I've got to interview you before the game. He says, not a problem. So we get to Ibrox, and we're wearing the marble staircase. I says, now how do we get on the field here, Craig? He says, I think it's this way. I says, you don't know. I said, the only reason I asked you to do the interview is you knew how we got on the field. He laughed. Anyway, we got on the field. As we're coming out the tunnel, who's jogging past us? The one and only Ali McCoist. So Craig, being a bit mischievous, shouts, hey Coisty, are you still on that 24-hour diet? Because he was a bit... And I won't tell you what McCoist answered back to Craig. It was a couple of swear words, you know.
Imagine,
but it was good banter. Because Ali was putting on the beef at that time, you know.
Craig was a fantastic guy, wasn't he? Like you say, it's great that you wrote the foreword to your book. It's like you say, a sad loss, but he was a character himself, wasn't he?
He told me so many stories over the year. He told me a story, you know, when the Euro Championship, you know, against England at Wembley, we get the penalty kick, and Terry Venables shouting, okay, Gascoigne's getting substituted. If Scotland had scored, it could have been a different game. So what happens? The ball goes down near the end. Gascoigne scores one of the greatest goals of all time, and the rest is history, you know. But he's some great stories to tell, you know. He was just a wonderful man, and I don't know one person who could say one bad word about him. He was just special, man, you know.
You mentioned there when you came over to Hong Kong, and you were like pioneers at that point in time. Has the football developed in Hong Kong over the years?
No, it hasn't. It did for a while, but Japan and Korea have overtaken it big time, as you know, because I mean it's clubs buying Japanese and Korean players now and that. But no, it's we had some good players. We had some great players, Hong Kong players, very skillful, and there's still some good players, but they haven't reached the Dizzy heights, which is a shame because the Hong Kong fans are soccer mad, and if they had a couple of local superstars, you would see the gates just flourishing. I mean, when I went to Hong Kong, we were getting full house at Government Stadium, 28,000 people, you know, at a game, and it was. And of course, when you've got a big attendance, it makes you feel better. You play better as well, you know, and the atmosphere.
Yeah, fantastic. Do you keep in touch with Rangers and what's going on? Do you keep an eye on things back home?
I do. You know, and the funny thing is, when I grew up as a Rangers supporter, and then when I went to Hong Kong, you don't follow them the same.
Yeah.
But when you get to my age, I'm 74 now, it's amazing how you start following a team, but as you get older, you start following them again.
Yeah.
So I do watch all the games. I've got Rangers TV, watch the games, and I stay in touch with some of the players. I know Willie Henderson very well, and Bill McMurdo, the agent, you know. And it's nice that Rangers have got a new CEO, James Bisgrove.
Yeah.
My one of my best pals, that's his nephew, James.
Yeah.
So I got to know James, and I think he'll do well. And I actually think this year that Rangers have got a big chance of winning the league if they can find somebody to put the ball in the back of the net, because that's been a big problem as far as I could see. They just didn't finish teams off, missing easy chances. So, you know, and they might have called me Jesus in Hong Kong, but I don't think it'll be much of a miracle. I think we can win the league this year.
Yeah, optimistic. Yeah. I think there's a sense of optimism. I think they've got I think the business that they've done, bringing in the 6 players pretty early, is you'd say that's a good sign. Michael Beale, you impressed with what the work he's been doing so far?
I am. I think he's a very clever coach, and tactically I think he's okay as well. And I think it's a wee bit unfair last year with some of your back results in Europe. but we had a depleted team.
Yeah.
So this is a new challenge. I think you'll see a different Rangers this year.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty optimistic.
Do you ever get back home much?
Not so much now. I used to get back a lot of the time, see the family, my old mum. Here's a funny story. I went back for my mum's 100th birthday. You can't believe it. What did she sing at her 100th birthday? Follow, follow. I don't get back so much now.
Yeah.
I've got my middle brother John's got a wee bit of dementia, and he's in a care home. Another Dick died about a year and a half ago, and I've got my big brothers were a big inspiration. They did a lot for me, and I'll say something about Dick. Dick was 1954 Commonwealth Games gold medalist for Scotland. He won the ABA 2 years running. And when he passed away, I got a phone call in Bangkok, and I didn't recognise the number. And I wasn't going to answer it. You never know who it is, a hoax call or whatever. Anyway, I answered it. And the voice said, "Condolences, Derek. Your brother was one of the best. Alex Ferguson."
Wow.
What a great man Fergie was. Because him and Dick used to do after dinner speaking engagements together.
Yeah.
And he knew my other brother John. So he's been great, but it's so nice. It just tells you the character of the guy. He's going to pick up the phone and get my number and phone me in Bangkok.
Yeah.
Condolences with the amount of people he knows. So Rangers, with a lot of great guys who've been involved with Glasgow Rangers, and it's a great family. And this horse it's just been fantastic, I mean, as I said, Murray Head one night in Bangkok. These boys have done 4 nights in Bangkok.
Not half. I was going to round up by saying that. I mean, it must be great coming to places like this, and it just shows you the worldwide appeal and the family feel that Rangers has, doesn't it? That people are travelling from all of different parts of the globe to converge on this and having a great time.
Well, you walk in, and I was happy to see Scott Semple, because I used to play with his dad, Billy Semple, that played with Rangers. But you walk in, and if you go in there and there's maybe 10 guys and you don't know them, they come straight over and say, I'm whatever, and they introduce themselves. Just a great family, Yeah. I mean, I've had some. I remember one time when Andy Gorham I got to know quite well, and I arranged to meet him in Soy 8 one day, and we were going to have a couple of beers, and he's walking towards me, and I walked towards him and I says, "There's only 2 Andy Gorhams." He wasn't very polite what he said to me, but he knew it was only a joke, because he played with Man United, as you know, and that. But he was a character. It's been great Rangers characters, and meeting Colin Steen was fantastic. What a gentleman, because of all the guys who came out here, Colin's the only one I can remember actually going to watch, because I went in 70 to Hong Kong, so I saw Colin, and he was different class, and what a class act. I mean, if anybody wants somebody for an after dinner speak, get Colin Steen.
Yeah, I'd echo that. He's been top notch. So the book then, folks, if you want to get a copy of the book, Derek, where can you do so?
Well, the thing is, I won't give you all the details, but you can get it on Amazon, but unfortunately it's published in Hong Kong, so it takes a bit of time getting over to the UK. It can take 8-9 weeks, so it might say out of stock, but I would say anybody that wants to buy it, I think they'll enjoy it, and there's some great old Rangers stories as well.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I think it was 1970, 74, 75. I had moved to a team called Seiko, and Hong Kong Rangers had a forward line. Henderson, Willoughby, Forrest, Chinese boy, and Semple.
Wow.
And
Rangers forward line.
It was a Rangers forward line, and I actually played with Wee Willie in the Hong Kong League 11 one day, alongside Tommy Murray. Played with Hearts and that, but Wee Willie was a character, I'll tell you. But what a great player he was as well.
Yeah. Well, it's been great meeting you, Derek. Thank you very much for having a chat with us.
Thanks very much, Derek. Pleasure.